Hello, welcome to Baldwin's. I'm Neil Paisley, Managing Director, and today we're going to discuss the controversial subject of third-party coin grading. And I thought it would be great to have Richard Gladdle with me, who is very experienced, as I'm sure you can't tell. I mean, it's a very controversial subject. Some people love grading, some people hate it. It can depend whether you're a true collector, whether you're an investor, but we're going to debate and discuss it today. Richard, why don't you say a little bit about grading?
I'll start off with how it came about. It came about, probably some 35, even 40 years ago. And the question I think I'm most often asked is, why are things graded up to 70? It's a sort of slightly odd number. Why not 100? Well, the reason is that there are essentially 7 grades, which the Sheldon series uses. Sheldon wrote a book on large cents, and he gave basically 6 grades. So that's poor, fair, fine, very fine, extremely fine, and uncirculated. So the top one, uncirculated, is a 6, so that goes from 60 to 70. And that basically defines the difference in grades between uncirculated, i.e. you can have different types of uncirculated, better uncirculated and less uncirculated.
But we do have, it's slightly different for proofs, is it not? Although it goes up to 70, we have PFs, which means it's a proof coin, whereas with an uncirculated coin, it's MS. Those are the two fundamental
But the numerical grades can still, is exactly the same,
Yeah.
whether it's a PF. The other thing which has just happened in the last couple of years is they've doubled the amount by adding a plus. So you can have something which is mid-state, uncirculated 64, and if it's almost 65, you can have a 64 plus.
But not only that, they now talk about the surfaces. So on currency coins, you can have proof-like. However, now on the proof coins, we have the sort of sheen and brilliance on the fields, which can be ultra cameo, deep cameo.
That's true. For ancient coins, it's even more complex. So they've actually changed the system. They don't have the numbering system up to 70. They have 2 grades out of 5, surfaces and strike. And so therefore, what you're aiming for in a perfect coin, perfect slab coin for an ancient coin, is 5 out of 5 and 5 out of 5.
So I guess the question is, should we put numbers to coins? Do they then just become a number? Are we now just feeding the investor market? Causes many debates. I don't go to a single coin fair without debating this with the coin collectors. I mean, you must have seen that yourself, Rich.
Yes, and I suppose originally, sort of 30 years ago, the big problem was the collector had a coin that was sold as MS63, and when he came to sell it, it was only MS60. And so the idea was to have a disinterested party accurately grade the coin, so you didn't have this difference between sellers and buyers. The buyer obviously thinks it's not as good as the seller is trying to promote it as. So they hit on the idea of capsulating in plastic and giving you a barcode so they're recorded.
Most people say, well, where can I take it to have it graded in England? Well, there are no graders in England. All the coins go over to America, and it is American dealers or sometimes British dealers who now live in America, but all the grading is done in America, which again causes questions. Well, if it's an American dealer grading my coins, does he have enough experience to grade an English coin?
Well, that's true. And there is some controversy sometimes as to whether they are correct in their grading, and especially with hammered coins, because essentially what are you grading? You're grading the amount of wear that the coin has. Now, you might have a hammered coin that was struck at the end of the day, and they're getting a bit tired of whacking these things out, and they're doing it quickly and they're doing it lightly. So you have a coin that might be in mint condition, but not very well struck, which is not as nice as a coin that was struck in the morning that's seen a bit of wear and perhaps is only good, very fine, but beautifully, strongly struck. So that coin would actually get a lower figure than the mint condition coin struck at the end of the day. So it gets very complicated. Because it is purely on the amount of wear that the coin has seen, not its production.
True, and if it's just been weakly struck, it's not worn, but gives the appearance of wear, which again, a US grader might not know that process.
Well, especially some of the US collectors that tend not to look at the coin, they look at the figure. And, quite frankly, I've seen, there's many hammered coins. I'd much rather have an Allure figure because they're strongly struck and they're a prettier coin.
True, but then if you came to resell it, Richard, it's going to sell for less. And that is the problem.
It's the number that matters, and I think that is what I think is probably wrong with the system. But the collector that is not that up with grades tends to know what he's buying.
This is true. This is true. But then that brings us to the sort of the part that's debated the most. If a coin has a problem, it will not get a straight grade. They will not give it a number, but unfortunately it now will come back as a details grade.
So there's a lot of coins that I think are very pretty and nice coins, and there might be something wrong with them. They might have been lightly cleaned many years ago, or they might have a little cross scratched in them. They often did that on handed coins. And suddenly it is forever marked as ungradable.
I've had 5 guinea pieces over my last 30 years of dealing. I've had some exceptional mint state. They probably would have been the finest struck example. 20 years ago, it would have gone into a grade collection and that would have been fine. Now what can happen is he's now decided he's going to grade it to maximise his returns. And now this is where the problem can lie. If this coin had had a very light scratch on the back, which 20 years no one would have cared about, if this coin now comes back with details, because of this very small scratch, it is now worth a third of the price. Now, surely that's wrong, Richard. If this coin's one of the best.
I think it is. I mean, it's the coin that you're looking at, not the ranking it's got. And that is probably my main problem with grading, the fact that there's a lot of very pretty coins which are suddenly, if you try and sell them, especially in America or Japan, not even looked at because they've got that grading of details.
And this could still be a spectacular coin that any collector would be happy with, but now it's been condemned and the value is literally plummeted. And this is the most common argument we have with the grading, and it's caused a huge issue in the coin market. Auction houses, coin dealers, all with many years experience, they grade their coins, they believe they are grading it correctly, and yet they can sell these coins to collectors who then get them graded, and if there's suddenly a problem, the value of what the collector's paid is now worth nowhere near. We come up with certain solutions that could work. For example, could they still be graded with a number? So a mint state 5 guinea with a little scratch on the reverse, could it not still be MS63, but they actually write light scratch on reverse? You've still got the number, you've said what the problem is, but it's still got a grade.
Yeah.
Surely that could help. Other ideas are that if there's a problem, they can reduce the number, but still give it a number. That's the issue, I think, more than anything.
There is another problem as well. I'm a fashion coin dealer and collector, but I like to actually handle the coin. So the fact that they're encapsulated in plastic, for me, it just makes it loses some magic of actually holding a 400-year-old coin in your hand.
But there are positives. You know, this coin here, if I drop it, it's not going to damage the coin. It's sealed in plastic, airtight, it should not tone. And if you should scratch or slightly damage the capsule, you can resend it to have it regraded. I've got 2 examples here. Both coins are completely different. One is hammered gold, one is milled silver. What they do have in common is they are both the finest graded, but I've also got one in an NGC holder, one in a PCGS holder. This holder is slightly different for NGC because usually they're white, but this was part of a special collection, so they did a customized black NGC holder.
We did try and do it in England a few years ago, but out of 100 rather than 70, and it didn't really work because people have gotten to the mindset of grading things up to 70 and not 100. So when you saw something at 92, it still looks slightly weird.
No,
we think of 60s being mint state and 50s being extremely fine.
And don't forget, PCGS, NGC, they have been around for many, many years. And like it or not, grading is here to stay.
Yeah.
And it would just be nice if they could amend it to accommodate for coins with problems. I think that could help massively. Here I have a PCGS graded mint state 64 Cromwell half crown. I mean, and have a look, Richard, as you can see,
That must be approaching the best No, nothing.
Well, it is actually joint finest, but there is no finer graded.
Yeah.
But have a look. I mean,
No, it is beautiful.
mint, it's got proof-like fields. Now, if that wasn't graded, I would estimate the value would probably be 6,000 or 7,000. Because it's MS64 in finest known, it should be worth at least 12,000.
I suppose the problem is they're not graded. You have the worry of it not being graded because there's something wrong with it, or they might decide it's clean.
Should it be detailed? Then worth half the
so
value.
there is actually risk in buying it raw. This is the problem, isn't it? If you buy it already slabbed and it's got a good grade, there's guaranteed there's nothing wrong with it.
True, but from a dealer's perspective, he could be gambling that it's much higher and he doubles his money. Leading on from this, I have an Elizabeth I pound. It's a Mint Mark II, so it's very rare. It's AU58, which you think, oh, that's not even MS. AU58 is typically extremely fine. However, because it's so rare in Mint Mark II, it is the finest known. If it was a commoner Elizabeth I pound, they do exist in MS. But Mint Mark II, 1602, that is the finest known. So I have to ask, do you like grading, or would you wish it had never come into fruition? Do you wish we were still dealing the old way, raw coins?
I suppose the answer is no, I don't like grading, but as a coin dealer, one can make quite a lot of money out of it, and as a coin collector, you have the security that the coin you're being sold is the condition which you are saying it is.
True. And I mean, my answer is I will be diplomatic. I did prefer dealing when coins were raw. I just think the details causes too much of a problem. Now, if they changed it to accommodate coins with problems so it doesn't kill the value, then yes, I think I'll be more on board with third-party grading. But until that happens, I much prefer the old ways of dealing.
Yeah. Handling the coin in the flesh.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your opinions, Richard, and thank you to the viewers.